looking at data agnostically, I can potentially identify patterns or interesting anomalies where otherwise we would not be able to look at those given our bias as scientists. Again, looking at purely at the data sets, and at the evidence itself, I hope that we can either create better hypotheses that we can test. Maybe we can detect anomalies. Maybe we can detect patterns, although, again, that might not be the case. But if that's not the case, then we can at least go through a rigorous scientific process about how we can approach this question in the future, and maybe how we can design some instruments and some experiments that will take a closer look at this phenomena.
Again, this is a very short timeline to come up with this basic framework. What was the deadline that you said you guys would do? And when is that first report expected to be released?
It will be released in July, this coming year, in July 2023, yes.
Okay, so that's, how many more meetings?
Experience and scientific knowledge to the table. Our primary goal right now is to ask lots of questions, and that's what we are doing. And that's how you do science, right? You first start by asking some very good questions, and then we will see what is the best way to get other scientists on board to help answer those questions.
That sort of brings me to the next topic I want to talk about. What sort of if you could clear up any misconceptions about the work that you are doing, what would be the main one that you would want to clear up? And are there any others that you would like to clear up? And then I have follow-ups for that, so let's start there.
Yeah. So again, the first misconception is that all UFOs and all UAPs are aliens, right? And that NASA is finally going to look into aliens. NASA has been searching for evidence of life since the very beginnings, right? Whether it's microbial life, whether it's intelligent life, but again, looking at this process in a very rigorous scientific way. Now, apart from biosignatures or technosignatures, right? What we know as Seti, or when you send a probe on Mars or Europa or Titan looking for microbial life, or when you are looking into analyzing radio waves for technosignatures and so on. This other part, which is or UFOs, is particularly murky as a field, and many scientists have stayed away from studying this because of all the stigma and all the heaviness that is brought into it. And this stigma and heaviness is coming basically from our social environment and our cultural biases, and mass media hasn't helped throughout the years with all these Hollywood portrayals of aliens as little green men, or or doomsday, like Independence Day, that they are going to come here and wipe us out, or something like that. So throughout the years, mass media has definitely created this murky halo around the whole field. Then, of course, there have been throughout the years, particularly with respect to UFOs and UAPs, there have been some contradictory reports that came from the defense side versus witness reports versus photographs, and there have been fakes, and it's very difficult at this point to distinguish between what's a good report, what's a bad report when it comes to witnesses, when it comes to images, and that's why we are leaving that data aside, because there is a lot of noise in the data, and we don't have a good criterion for how we can select the good ones from the bad ones. And then there is also, again, this whole misconception of, if you are a scientist that wants to study this phenomena, that you are basically a little bit crazy, right? That, you are going to take your career down the drain, which has happened, unfortunately, in the past for some of the most brave scientists that wanted to look at this through the scientific lens. So it's a very difficult field to work with. So on top of the phenomena itself that we don't know what it is and it's difficult to study, we also have all these social and cultural biases around us that, again, make it even more difficult for us, for scientists, to work in this field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely empathize with that. Ever since I started working for the Seti Institute, I think I have a subset of friends who think that the best question to ask me is, so have you found aliens yet? Which, was funny about the first 3 or 4 times.
Right.
So, right. I understand. Okay, I'm going to take a look at some of these. We've actually got some good questions coming in, and so I want to ask a few of these. When you talk about, this one is from Charlie. When you talk about working up a scientific framework, would you start with a definition of what the evidence is that you're collecting?
That's right. That's a very good question. Yes. So again, it's the question of how are we going to collect new data with respect to this phenomena. It's really open, and we don't know how to answer that just yet. We will take in all the evidence, whether it's existing data sets or there will be future data sets, as long as it's instrument-based data and we have accurate measurements with respect to geographic position, with respect to timelines, and with respect to physical properties that can be measured, and we have specific data for that. We will not do again, it's not for us, for the committee, to actually siphon through all this data and select what's good evidence versus what's bad evidence. But as a scientist, if I were to look at these data sets, first I would just take in all the evidence, and then using good methods in terms of classification, in terms of segmentation, it's then when we would siphon through the data and separate what we consider anomalous evidence versus something that we know what it is, or we can easily identify what it is.
Okay. I want to. Okay. Original Gumshoe has asked several really good questions. I want to kind of address, and I do appreciate this question. Are you going to work against this bias that there is within the SETI research and without the SETI research?
Yeah, I hope so, and I've done so, and I've tried to do so all the times. Yes. Yeah.
And they're also asking, and I kind of am curious myself. I mean, obviously, you're searching, you're working on SETI, you're doing this kind of research. Do you personally believe that there is alien life out there that we can find?
I have no personal beliefs whatsoever because, again, I'm a scientist first and foremost, and I do like to see the evidence. I do like to look at probabilities, and I absolutely love the debate about whether we will first find microbial life versus intelligent life.